All right, hi everyone coming in. We'll give it a few more minutes before we get started. Thanks for joining today. All right, yep, and we got the live transcript going as well. Thanks, Heather. All right, hello, just saying hello again. Got a few more people coming in here. Give it maybe 2 more minutes and then we'll get going. Speaking of that, I think I'm going to get my slides up. Okay.
I assume we get the slides after or can get to them somewhere. I don't know if I'm supposed to be taking the bus.
No, so let me just make sure I've got my sharing settings right. And then I can just put this in the chat. Anyone can see that. Thank you. Good chat.
Much appreciated. I had to rush home. Apparently the building HVAC has decided to go haywire, and being on the 4th floor, the best thing plant told us is like, move to another part of the building. And I'm like, yeah, that doesn't work for cataloging so well.
No, thank you. I know that feeling. Okay, yep, I've got the slides in there. And then there's a number of links in the presentation as well. And I'm planning to send out this presentation to everybody else as well as the recording. All right, with that, I think I will get started. And Jessica, maybe you can act as backup, put some of these links in as we go. And I have the chat up so I can see it, but I don't, yeah, I shouldn't disappear with my slides. Okay. All right, let's get going. Well, thanks everybody for coming today. Welcome. So thanks for signing up to be an IG leader this year. Today, this presentation is really about trying to kind of get off on the right foot at the beginning of the year, making sure you kind of know the lay of the land, understand kind of your expectations for being a leader, and know where you can find different resources as you might need help throughout the year. So our focus for today is we're going to talk about what is the IGCC and how can we help you. So that's the Interest Group Coordination Council, for which I am this year's chair. So I'm Denise Layton. I work at the University of Michigan Library. I've been involved with MiALA for about 4 years now. And I have a couple other members of the IGCC with me today. And I've got our full names in a couple slides. We're going to get into the basics of IG leadership, events, communication, and then hopefully we'll have some time to share ideas with each other. Okay, so as I said, I'm this year's chair, and then I've got Jessica Shuck here with us today. She is the vice chair. She's from Cornerstone. Ida Martinez, she's secretary from Wayne State. Couldn't miss today, but oh, and I didn't change the names around here. I copied them from our calendar invite. So Andrew Lunding, from Michigan State, who's joining us today. Caitlin Benelak from CMU. She's here today, and then Dawn Winans from Kettering. So we're representing your kind of all across the state, of course, still in Lower Michigan, but all across the state. So the 6 of us are here to be liaisons to you. In the email that Heather sent, which was an introduction email that kind of goes over a lot of the same things that we're going over today, you were assigned a liaison. And if they haven't reached out to you over email yet, we will be soon. We kind of just got up and running this week. So what will the liaison do? So liaisons are here to be a resource to you. We'll join your IG and check in with your leadership monthly. And you can also check in with us. So we're really here to communicate back and forth with you. What we do as a coordination council is that we review funding requests. We look for common themes and questions across groups. So we meet monthly and we kind of talk about what's going on with our different IGs. We all give each other an update about what we've heard from our IGs. And then we'll also get in touch with you at the end of the year about a yearly report and any funding requests you might have for the next year. So that's our main purpose. So, and then this is a slide from the chair that she gave at retreat, which is basically to say that we've got membership, kind of everybody at the bottom, and then there's our IGs and people organizing around a topic. Then we've got the IG chairs and leadership, our coordination council, and then I, as the chair, am kind of the liaison to the board. So then I attend the board meetings and sort of kind of connect us all the way down is the idea. So that's how decisions flow in MiALA. So I just wanted to touch on expectations for being an IG leader. Overall, the idea is to provide programming and communication with your members around your IG topic. And that is really up to you. And so it can take a lot of different formats: webinars, lunch and learns, discussions, sharing resources, pop-up conference, anything bigger or smaller in between. There's been all kinds of different things that we've done. And if you're new to leadership, I have a couple more resources that kind of give more details about these different options. I think a common question is, how much should I be doing? And I feel like my answer is whatever works best for you and your membership. So I'll just give an example. I'm also a chair of the Web UX IG co-chair. And last year, during COVID, we were kind of like, we feel at our, maximum capacity, like, let's just do, 2 events. And if we only do 1 event per semester, like, we're going to feel fine about it. So I think, you might feel a little bit of a pressure of like, what am I going to do? What do my members want? But I think, it's meant to be about an interest. And so it doesn't have to be everything and it doesn't have to be all the time. But it's kind of meant to be a way to connect, a way to have a little bit of fun, a way to learn from each other and get to know people from across the state. So communication and member engagement. So if you're feeling like you don't know what your members are interested in, the best way to probably get around that would be to ask them. So you can maybe fill out a survey, which some IG leaders have done. You can just send an email saying, what would you be interested in learning about this year? And I wanted to just get into the website really quickly to actually look at how to do that specifically. So I'm just going to pull up the main MiALA website. I'm going to go to the member login, I will remember my login. And this brings me to kind of like my main page where everything is happening. And I can see my interest groups and committees under engagement. Okay. Actually, I think I maybe, oh, I think I can get to it from here. So I'll go down to my interest group, the Web UX group. And here I can see just a lot more about it. I can see all of our members, and then I see this little button that says enter interest groups and committees area here. So then here's where I can see my list of participants. I've got the message board option here. I can see documentation. I can see our other contact information. So this is, for you as a chair, this is an area where you can, there's a couple different ways to get to it, but I think kind of just clicking around to the IG areas, you'll get to it. And something I like to use is this list of participant detail, in which case you can then see all your different participants and you can see their emails. And you can send emails directly through this interface by using that message board, but sometimes that maybe like sends it to spam. So another good way is just to copy all the emails and send an email that way. That's kind of one of the main ways that I like to do it. The pro of using the message board is that it's saved in the MiALA website and people can see it over time. The con is sometimes it doesn't get to everyone. So I just wanted to point that out, like this is an easy way to just find your members and reach out to them. All right, we'll get back to our slides here. From the chat, I've had better luck with surveys than open emails. I think it's because offering a few options to respond to is less intimidating. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. And it can be short, you know, Google survey. Was there a survey thing in MiALA page? I think there is. Isn't there, Heather? Shout out to Heather. She might be doing something else.
I'm here.
I'm pretty sure there is.
There is,
Yeah.
yes. If people are interested in doing a survey through the tool, just let me know and I will. It's kind of something I can create on the administrative side, and then you can publish to your people. So just get a hold of me and I'll help you out. Yeah.
So that's Heather Ladisky, by the way. She's the administrative support person for MiALA. And if you haven't met her before, she's a really great person who can help with a lot of the behind the scenes thing. You can reach out to your IG liaison, of course, but Heather also attends our monthly meetings and kind of connects us all together. So if there's ever something you have a question about, I have her email in here a couple times, so you can yeah. Well, yeah, I love it. Just get into questions right now too. Would you prefer we use the MiALA survey tool to keep the data? I've been doing ours through Flow. I think that the most important thing about keeping data is when things move from chair to chair. So year to year, if you're sharing what you did the previous year with the next chair, and there's a way for them to maybe archive it in Google or in the documentation part of MiALA, I think that's good enough. I don't think we need to limit ourselves on the tools we use because we want to keep everything in the website. I think there's different ways to archive and pass the information on. Yeah. Right. So I was about to type, I'm a national org chair and sharing among Google Drives is difficult. Yeah. So I think if you want to keep things in the MiALA site, that can be helpful. Okay, so we went over sending emails and the message board. You can also ask MiALA to publicize your event by using the event communication form. So I just wanted to point this out. because in addition to requesting your event, which we'll get to in a bit, you can ask that your news and events be publicized, in which case it wouldn't just be going to your IG members, it would be going to everybody in MiALA. So that link is there. Okay, so move on. So holding events. So when you're thinking about your events, you know, this is the beginning of the year, you're really thinking about what are we going to do this year? There is this really great resource called the Workshop Planning Checklist, which is linked in a few different places, but I have it here, which basically brings you through a number of questions that can help you brainstorm about what you want to do. You know, think, do you want to co-sponsor with another IG or outside group? Do you want to request a subsidy from the board to help with expenses? So this is especially useful for new IG leaders who maybe want to know, like, what's an option and what can I do? So this is a great resource. So then after you figure out what you want to do, pick a date, get it on the calendar. So I linked again to another form where you can do that. Ask Heather Ladisky, our administrative support person for MiALA, about setting up registration and for a Zoom link if you want to use MiALA Zoom, which they're using today. And can make it just easier to keep things consistent for the type of events that you're having. You can publicize it, again, directly to your members through some of the email options I went over, all of MiALA by filling out that form. You can also, something I have done a couple times is just go to your other networks. So, you know, think about people at your own institution. Think about other people who maybe aren't engaged in MiALA who might be interested. Yes, it could be a good way to get people to sign up for MiALA if you wanted to, but, you know, it can also just be, you know, interest in it as well. And with the registration, you can decide if you want to charge people, that is something that you can do. If you want it to be MiALA members only, or if you want it to be open to anyone. So those are a couple different options that you can consider depending on your event. So funding, talking about money. MiALA has funding. So expenses requested by other interest groups in the past have included presenter honorarium, meeting venue and or AV expenses. If we, you know, it's possible we might be able to do some in-person things this year, depending on what happens with COVID. Food and beverage expenses, and then some packaged educational programs. A couple IGs have gotten creative with thinking about maybe a scholarship to a different professional development opportunity, or like a conference membership or attendance or virtual attendance. So, you know, there's a lot of different options, and the event proposal form down below is where you're going to be asking for that funding. So I just wanted to touch a little bit on speaker honorariums. So this is something we tried to standardize a little bit last year on the IGCC. So a typical, I'll just read this, typical honorarium to offer interest group meeting conference speakers can range between a $20 to $25 gift card for a 1-hour online presentation to $500 plus for a hands-on workshop. Honorarium is subject to negotiation for in-person meetings and conferences. Mileage and other travel expenses may be reimbursed. So I just want to point this out and make sure all IG leaders know that this funding is available, because I think some people who have known about it have asked for it, and others who maybe didn't do that for some of their speakers. So especially the gift card option is something that is a little bit more like a thank you. So this might be for, you know, a fellow MiALA member or a fellow IG member who presented at the group. This is a way to kind of thank them for their time and for their service. You know, we're all kind of part of professional service, but it's a nice way to say, you know, I appreciate the time you put this. And so we did that, approved that a couple times last year. So the event proposal form is here. And so this is where you would kind of talk about what you're trying to do, who's it for, and then the type of funding that you might need. Yeah, anticipated incurs costs of events. And so right now, this is kind of general, but something our IGCC is going to work on this year is maybe making some more specific criteria around funding, because I think we want to make sure that we're consistent. Again, I think some IGs maybe ask for more money because they've done it before, and other IGs might not know that that's an option. So we want to make sure that we're approving funding requests consistently. We're aligning with the board's budget, of course, and just that we are giving everybody all the funding that they need to put on the programming that they want to. Okay, and then I mentioned here the February ask for next year. So as we're coming to the end of the year, obviously we're at the start of the year, so this really isn't on our mind, but just want to put it out there. You know, the IGCC, we're going to be asking, our year liaison is going to be asking you to kind of write up an end of year report and to project if you think there's any spending you might do next year. And this, it doesn't have to be set in stone. It's just to help the board kind of get an idea of what might be out there. And you know, you would put it in, and then you would actually request it again the next year. Okay. Got a question in the chat. Question about promotion. Is there or can we build a centralized iSchool and listserv list? I feel like I keep recreating this wheel. That is a good idea, because I think that something I've always kind of thought about is like, okay, we have the people who signed up for this interest group, and they're from a subset who have signed up for MiALA. But we've got a lot of other people in the profession who are, you know, have an interest in a lot of the topics that we talk about. And publicizing those lists would be really effective. Yeah, that's a really great idea. Maybe, Jessica, can you note it down somewhere? Thanks. Thanks, Deja. So I just wanted to bring this point up. What happens if I don't see a lot of participation? So maybe you send out this, you know, an ask being like, hey, IG members, what are you interested in learning this year? And then maybe only one or maybe nobody responds, and then you're kind of like feeling like a little bit in the dark. I think if that happens, it's not a reason not to put on programming. I think that in that case, you can say, well, I, as a leader, am interested in something about this, so I'm gonna just say this is what we're gonna try out this year, and maybe that will generate some interest. I think we could think about ways to recruit new members. An idea kind of like Deja's bringing up of a listserv could be a way to maybe bring more people in. And then there's also this option that you can consider going dormant or potentially disbanding. And I do suggest reaching out to your membership to say like, hey, we haven't seen a lot of engagement here. We're thinking about disbanding. Is there anyone who, you know, feels like motivated to take on some leadership or schedule, you know, be part of putting on events or communications. And you can talk to your IG liaison about this to maybe get ideas. But I think, you know, over time, there's 18 total interest groups. And, you know, I think interest waxes and wanes, and sometimes people are more interested in certain topics at different times, and then others maybe just be time to disband. Like we had the residency IG go dormant last year. So it happens. it's not a failure. It's just kind of the way the organization is supposed to work. So just want to put that out there. So I think a lot of IG leaders often are wondering, I'm thinking about what to do, but what are other IGs doing? So I think some of you definitely were at the IG Leaders Retreat earlier in August, and we did a little bit of brainstorming there, just in this document, which I will put in the chat. I also sent out to all of you. So this kind of puts into just, different language, a lot of the things we've already talked about, member engagement, communication events, and just shows some examples from other IG leaders of what we've tried. And so it's here as a resource and an idea. I also link out to a number of other things that I wanted to point to. So here, running a meeting, where do I start? What do other people do for meetings? I want to run a joint meeting. So I think joint meetings are something we'd really like to encourage on the IGCC. So to try to make that easier, I put a list of all of the IG leaders, and hopefully I think this should be up to date. If there's any updates we need to make, just let me know and I can make those updates. So in this interest group kind of tracking sheet, we have all of the different leaders here. And so this can help you remember what are all the IGs, and then also, I'd really like to do something with critical librarianship. I'll reach out to Ashley. There's their email, kind of thing. So hopefully that can help us collaborate a little bit more. Then of course you can always contact your IG liaison, and they're meant to connect you. So that can be an option as well. And then the MiALA Interest Group Leader Resource Manual. So I've already talked about a number of things that are linked in this manual, but can't really recommend the manual enough. It has just really everything you might need to know in terms of policies, procedures, where to go on the website, and again, it has the event planning process, especially, which links out to that workshop planning checklist that I pointed to before. And again, here's the information about the subsidy. Oh, it takes you right out to the form. So that's kind of your one-stop shop. I can zoom in. Yep. So again, it's got who to contact, it's got certain deadlines, or soft deadlines. It's got Heather's information in here. So if you're feeling like you have questions, I'd maybe look here first, or just reach out, and we're all working from the same document. I can zoom in on this one. Okay. Yep. So, and then I point out to the meeting FAQ, which is on the website. And so this is has a lot of questions about events. And so the one about subsidies, what are typical honorarium to offer speakers? This is right where I pulled that information from. So kind of tried to put it together in my slides, but it's also all out there on the website and in these different guides. Okay. So before we get into ideas for discussions, one thing on my mind was that last year we coordinated with the membership committee, and we put on monthly events where an IG hosted each month, and either put on programming or just shared about what their IG does. So that's something that we could do again. yeah, now we'll have a little bit of time for ideas or discussion. And then I'll also just put up, here is our email. And then Heather's email again as well. So I think at this point, I'll stop sharing my slides and we can get into a little more discussion and questions. And hopefully I covered some information that you were maybe looking for. So if there's something I missed, let me know. Stop sharing. All right. So are there any questions or thoughts about any of the things I've gone over?
I am the chair for the outreach interest group. And well, this is my second year on the IGCC too, but I didn't realize that it was all out there on the website. And I feel like there's so much to go through and it's all there, like all the answers to the questions are out there. So if you have any questions, like look around a little bit out there. I feel like it's all out there. And I didn't realize that. So thank you.
For sure. And you know, like any website, you kind of have to click around to find everything you need. So tried to provide a few direct links, but you can also like figure out how to navigate to them or search.
I guess the only feedback I have, and I feel like I'm the only one talking, so I'm sorry if anyone else wants to talk, just mute me.
Go for it.
It seemed like, and I'm glad we're getting a little more formalized, but some of the stuff under the meetings I read through made it seem like we have to take notes and stuff. And I hate to admit this, but I ran TSIG, we didn't really take much notes. It was more free flowing and casual. So I'm not sure if the expectations is that we become more formalized or if that's still like okay for monthly meetings, because that's, I think what eResources has been doing is mostly monthly meetings.
Yeah, so you're talking about taking notes at your monthly meetings and like archiving them?
Yeah, because we don't have a secretary. I'm very impressed. Or it looked like Access Services and was it Discovery or somebody that had like 4 people. I'm like, oh, a little jealous.
You know, I going back to that, like, do what's right for you and your membership. The year-end form is pretty brief. It's like, what did you do? And then you could just be like, we had monthly meetings every month. So I wouldn't worry too much about that.
I also feel like in the past, it was very much like we were told that we should have documentation to know that the IGs were still active. But now that we have the IGCC, I think that we are in contact with you. So we know that you're active and you're doing something. So that was kind of the point of it in the past. But
yeah, that makes sense too. And I think that like the idea around being active would be, you know, if folks sign up for your IG and the chair, you know, is notified every time someone new signs up, you know, we want that person to then feel like something happens after they sign up. You know, one thing our group started doing, the Web UX group started doing, was sending like a welcome email to kind of be like, hey, this is who we are, this is what's coming up, this is how you can reach us. But I think, like Heather says, each IG is different. And so if you're feeling like documentation is a burden, like that's not what this is meant to be. Does that answer it?
Yeah, I'm not trying to shirk my documentation.
I'm not trying to say documentation is like something we shouldn't be doing. It's just, I think that it's becoming a burden. That's not really the point. Any other questions out there or thoughts? Are you feeling like you kind of know the events you have in mind, or feel like you have a plan, or maybe still figuring it out? You know, this group can help you maybe brainstorm about what you could do. Oh, great. Good stuff, Carrie. Carrie says, yes, this is giving me ideas.
Denise,
Yeah.
this is Angela. Hi.
Hi.
I wanted to ask, and I don't know if you mentioned this and I missed it, and I apologize if you did, but for the IG liaisons to our groups, do the liaisons want to, and should we be copying them on all of the communications that we send out to our IGs? Like how, or should we be sending separate messages to kind of fill them in on what's happening? How should the communications be happening between the liaisons and the groups?
Yeah, so this year, we kind of talked about it at our first meeting that your liaison is going to join your IG. So if you're sending messages to your IG, they're going to be getting them too. So I think that generally you don't need to worry about, like, does my IG liaison know what's going on? We're also going to be reaching out. I mean, that's kind of our job. I did mention that, you know, you can let your liaison know what's happening, especially if it's like a big event, but generally we're signing up for your IG, so we're going to get your communications. We're, you know, tracking on the calendar, and we're going to reach out to you periodically, somewhat around monthly or every other month, to kind of just say, hey, anything going on? And then we bring that back to our monthly meeting.
Thank you. I know it's a little different because you're on, you're a liaison and you're in part of our leadership team, but for others, I just wanted to make sure that, yeah, I understand.
Right, yeah.
Thank you.
For sure. All right, well, give it just a couple more minutes here. You know, we don't really get together as a group for the rest of the year, so this is your moment. This is your time. Zia, I like that you have a reaction of a coffee cup. I feel like it's just a random thing I'm noticing.
I thought that meant you were walking like across the room to get your coffee or pick up your coffee. I don't know. I was surprised. It went under
I did not know
actions,
that.
and now there's like a tajillion like Zoom emoticons. Like, whoa,
Yeah.
okay.
Maybe that means Zia is getting coffee.
Every time I log into Zoom, there's like 17 new things, and I'm like, oh, this is new.
I know.
Yeah,
All
it's
right.
making me feel old because I'm not on with filters and things. But
Yeah, I know. I could have been giving this presentation as a moose this whole time.
Do over.
I didn't do it. Okay, well, thanks everyone. Or a potato. So thanks everybody. So this is kind of our kickoff for the year. Hopefully you all will be kind of getting together with your other leaders, using some of these ideas, and as ever, the IGCC is here, your liaison here is here, and Heather is here. And I'll be sending a follow-up email that includes the slides and the recording, probably next week. All right, well, thanks everybody.